Anger is a powerful emotion, one that can ignite a fire within us. But if we don't manage it properly, it has the potential to destroy everything around us. Now, what if I told you that ancient wisdom offers a way to transform that fire into strength, understanding, and peace? As the wise Buddha once said, "You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger." Today, we're going to explore 8 powerful lessons from Buddha that will not only help you manage your anger, but also turn it into a tool for personal growth. Ready to discover the secrets of mastering your emotions? Let's get started. 1. Self-reflection is your superpower. Self-reflection is an incredibly effective tool that allows us to understand and manage our emotions, especially anger. But what exactly is self-reflection? In simple terms, it means taking time to look inward and reflect on our own thoughts, feelings, and actions. Think of it as holding up a mirror to your mind, where you can truly see what's going on inside. When we feel angry, it's easy to think the cause lies outside of us, whether it's a person who upset us or a situation that didn't go our way. However, anger often stems from something deeper within us, and that's where self-reflection becomes essential. The Buddha, a wise teacher from thousands of years ago, taught that understanding the true sources of our anger is the first step in controlling it. He believed that anger doesn't usually come from surface-level issues like someone being rude or having a bad day. More often, it arises from unmet expectations, disappointments, or unresolved experiences from our past. For example, if someone cuts in line at a store and you become furious, that anger may not be solely about that minor incident. It could be linked to feeling disrespected or unseen emotions you've experienced many times before in different situations. Self-reflection helps us uncover these hidden feelings, allowing us to address the true issues at hand. One of the Buddha's most famous teachings is, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." This is vital because it reminds us that our thoughts shape our emotions and actions. If we constantly dwell on angry or negative thoughts, we will continue to feel anger and act out in harmful ways. Conversely, by shifting our thoughts toward understanding and patience, we can cultivate more kindness and calm in our lives. In this way, self-reflection is like a mental workout. Just as lifting weights strengthens your muscles, regularly reflecting on your thoughts strengthens your mind, helping you better manage difficult emotions. Through self-reflection, we can identify what triggers our anger. A trigger is something that sparks a strong emotional response in us, perhaps feeling ignored, criticized, or not getting our way. By thinking carefully about what makes us angry, we can begin to notice patterns in our behavior. Maybe we realize that we get upset whenever we feel like someone isn't listening to us. Once we identify our triggers, we can start to address them. This may involve improving communication skills, building patience, or even adjusting our expectations. The good news is that with regular self-reflection, we can become better at managing our anger. Instead of reacting immediately when something upsets us, we can pause and reflect on what's really going on. Are we truly angry at the situation, or is there something deeper at play? By asking ourselves these questions, we can move from anger to understanding and calm. Over time, this process becomes easier, and we gain more control over our emotions. In conclusion, self-reflection is a powerful tool that helps us dig deep and understand our true feelings, especially when it comes to anger. By taking the time to examine our thoughts and uncover the real reasons behind our anger, we can transform this intense emotion into something positive, such as understanding and calm. As the Buddha taught, our thoughts shape our reality, and through regular reflection, we can create a more peaceful and balanced life. 2. Don't allow others to control your life. Anger often arises when we allow the words or actions of others to disturb our inner peace. But why does this happen? It's because, as humans, we naturally care about what others think and say. When someone says something hurtful or does something we don't like, we feel upset. It can feel as though they have taken away our happiness. However, the Buddha, one of the greatest spiritual teachers, taught that we should never allow others to control our emotions. We are responsible for our own peace of mind, and we should never give that power away to anyone else. Buddha's teachings remind us that when we react impulsively to negativity, we lose control of our emotions. Think about a time when someone said something hurtful and you immediately felt angry. In that moment, it's easy to react without thinking, perhaps by lashing out or holding on to that anger for hours or even days. But when we react this way, we are actually giving control of our emotions to the other person. They said something, and it made us angry, which means they're deciding how we feel. Buddha taught that this is a mistake. Instead of reacting right away, we should remain calm and take a moment to think. By doing so, we stay in control of our happiness. One of the most important lessons Buddha shared is, you will not be punished for your anger, you will be punished by your anger. This serves as a powerful reminder that anger itself harms us the most. When we hold on to anger, it can dominate our thoughts, upset our peace of mind, and even negatively impact our physical health. Our hearts might race, or we might struggle to sleep as we replay the event over and over in our minds. The person who upset us may not even be aware or care that we're angry, yet we continue to suffer because we haven't let go of the emotion. In this way, anger becomes a punishment we impose on ourselves. By choosing not to react impulsively to things that upset us, we protect our well-being. Imagine someone says something hurtful to you. Instead of reacting right away, you pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, do I really want to let this ruin my day? By taking that moment to reflect, you give yourself the chance to choose peace over anger. You realize that the other person's words or actions don't have to control how you feel. You can decide to let it go and keep your inner peace intact. This doesn't mean accepting bad behavior or allowing others to treat you poorly. It simply means not letting their negativity disturb your emotional balance. In life, there will always be situations that test our patience. Someone might cut you off in traffic, or a friend may say something hurtful without realizing it. In these moments, anger can feel like the only natural response, but the truth is, we always have a choice. We can either react with anger, letting the situation take control of our emotions, or we can choose to remain calm and centered. This choice is empowering because it reminds us that no matter what happens around us, we have the ability to protect our happiness. With practice, we can get better at staying composed in challenging situations. The key is remembering that our emotions are our own, and we don't have to let others or external events control them. By choosing not to react to negativity, we maintain our peace and composure. We become stronger, more peaceful, and more in control of our lives. Over time, we may even notice that many of the things we used to get angry about aren't really worth our energy. By staying calm, we not only protect our own well-being, but also create a more peaceful environment for those around us. The core of anger: ignorance. At the heart of anger often lies ignorance, a lack of understanding of ourselves, others, or the situation we find ourselves in. This ignorance can cause us to jump to conclusions or react without fully grasping what's really happening. The Buddha, a great spiritual teacher, taught that many times anger stems from misunderstandings or false assumptions. When we don't fully understand a situation, we may feel threatened, confused, or frustrated. As a result, we react with anger because it seems like the quickest way to protect ourselves. However, the Buddha believed that by seeking knowledge and clarity, we can dispel this ignorance and replace anger with understanding. Imagine a time when you were upset by something someone said or did. Perhaps a friend didn't invite you to a party and you felt hurt. Without asking why, you might assume they were ignoring you on purpose, and that assumption leads to anger. But if you take the time to seek the truth and ask them about it, you might find that there was no bad intention at all. They may have simply forgotten or assumed you couldn't come. In this way, the anger you felt was based on a misunderstanding, which could have been avoided with more information and patience. The Buddha's teachings remind us that our anger often stems from misunderstandings. By seeking clarity, we can prevent unnecessary negative feelings. One of Buddha's most profound teachings is that ignorance fuels our anger. When we don't fully grasp a situation or fail to understand another person's perspective, we can quickly feel threatened. This lack of knowledge creates fear and frustration, which easily turn into anger. For example, if someone behaves rudely, we might get angry because we assume they're trying to harm or disrespect us. But if we pause and consider that they might be having a bad day or dealing with personal struggles, our anger can transform into compassion or patience. By seeking to understand the bigger picture, we start to see that many situations that make us angry are not personal attacks, but rather the result of deeper issues we may not be aware of. The Buddha also said, "An idea that is developed and put into action is more important than an idea that exists only as an idea." This quote reminds us that it's not enough to simply understand that ignorance causes anger. We need to take action by actively seeking understanding and practicing compassion in our daily lives. It's one thing to know that anger comes from not fully understanding a situation, but it's even more powerful to apply this knowledge when we're actually feeling upset. By taking the time to ask questions, listen and learn, we can transform our perspective. Instead of reacting with anger, we can respond with calmness and wisdom. Understanding ourselves is also an important part of this process. Sometimes our anger isn't just about what someone else did, it's about our own insecurities, fears, or frustrations. When we take the time to reflect on why we're really angry, we might discover that the situation triggered something inside us that we haven't fully addressed. For instance, if someone criticizes us, we might react with anger because we feel insecure about that particular thing. But if we understand our own feelings better, we can address the root cause of our anger rather than just reacting impulsively. Impulsively reacting prevents us from gaining valuable self-awareness, which is crucial for personal growth and handling difficult emotions in a healthier way. In conclusion, anger often stems from ignorance, whether it's a lack of understanding of a situation, another person, or even ourselves. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to seek knowledge and clarity rather than react based on false assumptions or misunderstandings. By taking the time to learn and understand, we can dispel the ignorance that fuels our anger, replacing it with wisdom and peace. As the Buddha wisely said, it's not enough to know these ideas. We must put them into action in our daily lives. By doing so, we can transform our perspective, reduce anger, and create a more peaceful and harmonious world for ourselves and those around us. 4. Acknowledge anger as a natural emotion. Anger is a natural human emotion, one that everyone experiences at some point. The Buddha taught that it's important not to deny or suppress our anger, but to acknowledge it as part of the human condition. When we recognize our anger without judgment, we take the first step toward managing it effectively. Denying or repressing anger can often lead to greater emotional turmoil, as these feelings may build up over time and eventually explode in unhealthy ways. By acknowledging our anger, we allow ourselves to feel it without letting it dominate our thoughts or actions. This process involves observing our anger with curiosity and compassion, understanding why we feel this way, what triggered it, and what underlying needs or fears might be involved. As the Buddha once said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." This quote emphasizes the power of acknowledging our emotions and responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. When we accept our anger, we can channel it into more constructive actions. For example, instead of lashing out, we might express our feelings through calm communication, physical activity, or creative outlets. Acknowledging anger as natural helps us avoid the trap of guilt or shame that often accompanies this emotion. Many people feel guilty for getting angry, believing it reflects poorly on their character. However, by recognizing that anger is a normal response to certain situations, we can approach it with a balanced mindset. This acceptance allows us to respond to anger in ways that are healthy and conducive to personal growth. By acknowledging anger, we gain control over it and can then choose how to act, whether that means addressing the issue directly, taking time to cool off, or finding a peaceful resolution. This approach not only helps diffuse the immediate situation, but also contributes to long-term emotional well-being. The practice of recognizing and accepting anger as a natural emotion is a vital step on the path to inner peace and harmony. When we acknowledge anger, we create space for deeper self-understanding. Anger often serves as a signal that something within us needs attention, whether it's an unmet need, a boundary being crossed, or a deeper emotional wound that requires healing. By paying attention to what our anger is trying to tell us, we can gain valuable insights into ourselves and our relationships. This self-awareness leads to meaningful personal growth and stronger connections with others. Acknowledging anger also allows us to practice self-compassion. Instead of harshly criticizing ourselves for feeling angry, we can treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. We recognize that anger is simply a part of being human, and by embracing it without judgment, we take a crucial step toward healing and transformation. Over time, this practice of self-compassion can reduce the intensity and frequency of anger, leading to a more peaceful and balanced life. By acknowledging and understanding our anger, we also become more empathetic toward others. We realize that everyone experiences anger, and that it's often rooted in pain or fear. This awareness deepens our compassion for others, improving our ability to respond with patience and understanding, even in challenging situations. In this way, acknowledging anger not only benefits our own well-being, but also enhances our relationships and contributes to a more harmonious world. 5. Practice forgiveness to free yourself. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful and transformative practices we can embrace on the path to managing anger. The Buddha taught that holding on to anger and resentment is like carrying a heavy burden that weighs us down and prevents us from moving forward. When we refuse to forgive, we allow the actions or words of others to continue harming us long after the initial offense. Forgiveness, therefore, is not just about the other person, it is primarily about freeing ourselves from the chains of bitterness and anger. As the Buddha once said, "Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." This profound insight highlights the self-destructive nature of anger and resentment. When we cling to these negative emotions, we are the ones who suffer. Our minds become consumed with thoughts of revenge, justice, or what could have been done differently. This mental turmoil can lead to stress, anxiety, and even physical health problems as our bodies respond to the tension created by holding on to anger. Ongoing emotional strain can weigh heavily on us, but forgiveness offers a path to release this burden. Forgiveness is not about condoning the actions that caused harm, nor does it mean forgetting what happened. Instead, forgiveness is about acknowledging the pain and choosing not to let it control our lives any longer. It's a conscious decision to opt for peace over conflict and healing over hurt. Through forgiveness, we reclaim our power and take back control of our emotional well-being. The process of forgiveness can be challenging, especially when the hurt runs deep. It may require time, reflection, and even repeated efforts before we can truly let go. The Buddha understood this difficulty, which is why he emphasized the importance of compassion both towards others and ourselves. By cultivating compassion, we can begin to see the humanity in those who have wronged us, recognizing that they too are imperfect beings who may act out of their own pain or ignorance. Forgiveness can be an act of profound self-compassion. When we forgive, we are not only releasing the other person from our anger, but we are also releasing ourselves from the ongoing suffering that anger brings. This act of self-compassion is crucial for our own healing and growth. It allows us to move past the hurt and focus on building a future that is not defined by past wrongs. Forgiveness also opens the door to reconciliation, whether with others or within ourselves. Sometimes, the person we most need to forgive is ourselves, perhaps for mistakes we've made, opportunities we've missed, or for allowing ourselves to be hurt. Self-forgiveness is a powerful act of liberation, freeing us from guilt and shame and allowing us to move forward with a lighter heart. As we forgive ourselves, we become more capable of extending that same grace to others, fostering healthier and more compassionate relationships. Practicing forgiveness can lead to a deeper understanding of the nature of suffering. The Buddha taught that all beings experience suffering in some form, and this shared experience can be a source of empathy and connection. When we forgive, we tap into this universal truth, recognizing that everyone, including ourselves, is on a journey of growth and healing. This understanding can soften our hearts, making it easier to forgive and let go of the anger that keeps us locked in suffering. Forgiveness is also an essential component of inner peace. By letting go of anger and resentment, we create space for peace, love, and joy to enter our lives. The energy that was once consumed by negative emotions can now be directed toward positive pursuits, such as personal growth, relationships, and creativity. This shift not only enhances our well-being, but also radiates outward, contributing to a more peaceful and harmonious world. Forgiveness is a gift we give to ourselves. It is a powerful tool that allows us to break free from the cycle of anger and hurt and move toward a life of greater peace, compassion, and joy. The Buddha's teachings remind us that while the journey of forgiveness may be difficult, it is also one of the most rewarding paths we can take. By practicing forgiveness, we open our hearts to healing and transformation, freeing ourselves from the past and embracing the present with a sense of peace and possibility. 6. Use mindfulness to channel your anger. Mindfulness is one of the most effective tools for managing and transforming anger. The Buddha taught that mindfulness, the practice of being fully present and aware of our thoughts, feelings, and surroundings, can help us observe our emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. When we practice mindfulness, we develop the ability to notice anger as it arises rather than being swept away by it. This awareness creates a space between the emotion and our response, allowing us to choose how we want to act instead of reacting impulsively. As the Buddha wisely said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." This quote captures the essence of mindfulness. By focusing on the present moment, we free ourselves from the regrets of the past and the anxieties of the future, two common triggers of anger. When we are fully present, we can experience our emotions without letting them dictate our actions. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our anger, understand its source, and then decide on a thoughtful and measured response. One of the key aspects of mindfulness is non-judgmental awareness. This means observing our anger without labeling it as good or bad, but simply acknowledging that it is there. This approach is liberating because it allows us to accept our feelings without adding layers of guilt or shame. Instead of thinking, "I shouldn't be angry," we learn to say, "I'm feeling angry right now and that's okay." This acceptance is the first step toward managing anger constructively. Mindfulness also encourages us to explore the physical sensations that accompany anger. Often, anger manifests in our bodies as tension, a racing heart, or shallow breathing. By bringing our attention to these sensations, we can start to calm ourselves physically, which in turn helps to calm our minds. Techniques such as deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or mindful walking can be powerful ways to dissipate the physical energy of anger before it spirals out of control. Another powerful aspect of mindfulness is its ability to reveal the underlying thoughts and beliefs that fuel our anger. Through mindful observation, we might notice that our anger is often tied to thoughts like, "This is unfair," or "I'm not being respected." Recognizing these patterns gives us the opportunity to challenge and change them, leading to a more balanced and peaceful state of mind. By recognizing these thought patterns, we can begin to challenge them. Are these thoughts really true? Are there alternative ways to view the situation? This kind of inquiry can help shift our perspective, reducing the intensity of our anger. Mindfulness helps us recognize that emotions, including anger, are transient, they arise, stay for a while, and then pass away. This understanding is incredibly empowering because it reminds us that we don't have to act on every feeling that comes up. We can simply observe the emotion, knowing that it will eventually fade. This realization can prevent us from making hasty decisions or saying things in the heat of the moment that we might later regret. Mindfulness also fosters empathy and compassion, both towards ourselves and others. When we are mindful, we are more likely to recognize the suffering that underlies our own anger, as well as the anger of others. This awareness can soften our hearts, making it easier to respond with kindness rather than aggression. We begin to understand that everyone is doing the best they can with the tools they have, and that often anger is a cry for help or a sign of inner pain. Mindfulness encourages us to stay connected to our values, even when we are angry. It helps us remember what is truly important, whether that's maintaining healthy relationships, acting with integrity, or preserving our peace of mind. By staying grounded in our values, we are less likely to be swayed by fleeting emotions and more likely to respond in ways that align with our true selves. Over time, the practice of mindfulness can lead to long-term changes in how we relate to anger. As we become more skilled at observing and managing our emotions, we may find that anger arises less frequently and with less intensity. We might become more patient, more understanding, and more resilient in the face of challenges. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but with consistent practice, mindfulness can fundamentally change our relationship with anger, leading to a more peaceful and balanced life. Using mindfulness to channel anger is not about suppressing or ignoring our emotions. Rather, It's about embracing them with awareness and compassion and choosing to respond in ways that promote peace and understanding. The Buddha's teachings remind us that by staying present and mindful, we can transform anger from a destructive force into an opportunity for growth and healing. 7. Elevate your life with the power of gratitude. Gratitude is a transformative force that has the power to elevate every aspect of our lives, including our ability to manage anger. The Buddha emphasized the importance of gratitude as a means of shifting our focus from what we lack or what has gone wrong, to appreciating the abundance and goodness that already exists in our lives. When we practice gratitude, we cultivate a mindset of contentment and positivity, which can significantly reduce feelings of anger and resentment. Anger often arises from a sense of lack or the feeling that something has been taken from us, whether it's our time, respect, or a cherished opportunity. When caught up in these negative emotions, it's easy to lose sight of the many blessings we still have. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to regularly reflect on the positive aspects of our lives, no matter how small they may seem. This practice of gratitude helps reframe our perspective, allowing us to see the bigger picture and recognize that our lives are filled with moments of joy, love, and connection. As the Buddha once said, "Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. So let us all be thankful." This quote beautifully captures the essence of gratitude. It's about finding something to be thankful for in every situation, even in our challenges. When we make a conscious effort to appreciate the good in our lives, we create a buffer against anger. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong or wishing things had happened differently, we focus on what we have to be grateful for, which fosters a sense of inner peace and resilience. Gratitude also has a profound effect on our relationships. When we express gratitude towards others, it strengthens our connections and fosters a sense of mutual respect and appreciation. This positive dynamic can prevent misunderstandings and conflicts from escalating into anger. By regularly acknowledging the kindness, support, and efforts of those around us, we create an environment where anger has less room to take root. Instead, our relationships are nourished by appreciation and understanding, leading to greater harmony and less conflict. Practicing gratitude can lead to significant changes in our mental and emotional health. Numerous studies have shown that people who regularly practice gratitude experience lower levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. This is because gratitude shifts our focus away from negative thoughts and feelings, promoting a more positive and optimistic outlook on life. When we are less burdened by stress and negativity, we are less likely to react with anger when things don't go our way. Instead, we approach challenges with a calmer, more balanced mindset. Gratitude also encourages us to live in the present moment. Anger often stems from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, whether it's holding on to past grievances or fearing that something will go wrong. The practice of gratitude, however, anchors us in the present. It reminds us to appreciate what we have right now, rather than fixating on what we lack or what might happen. This focus on the present diminishes the intensity of our anger as we become more mindful of the good that surrounds us. Gratitude can be a powerful tool for self-compassion in every moment. Often we are our own harshest critics, which can lead to anger directed inward. By practicing gratitude towards ourselves, acknowledging our strengths, efforts, and achievements, we can soften this inner criticism and replace it with kindness and understanding. This self-compassion reduces the likelihood of turning our frustrations inward, helping us maintain a more balanced and forgiving attitude toward ourselves. Gratitude is also closely linked to the concept of abundance. When we focus on what we're grateful for, we begin to recognize the richness of our lives. This sense of abundance can counteract the feelings of scarcity that often fuel anger. Instead of feeling like something is missing or that we've been deprived, we realize that we have enough and that we are enough. This shift in perspective can be incredibly liberating, freeing us from the need to compare ourselves to others or to constantly strive for more. The practice of gratitude also fosters a sense of humility. It reminds us that much of what we have, whether it's our health, relationships, or opportunities, is a result of contributions from others and the world around us. This awareness can reduce the sense of entitlement that often leads to anger when our expectations are not met. Instead, we approach life with appreciation and acceptance, which helps us navigate disappointments and challenges with grace. 8. Strengthen self-control for a more balanced life. Self-control is a cornerstone of emotional intelligence and personal growth, playing a crucial role in managing anger and maintaining balance in life. The Buddha taught that developing self-control is not about suppressing our emotions or desires, but about cultivating the wisdom and discipline to respond to life's challenges in a thoughtful and measured way. In a world full of distractions and provocations, strengthening self-control is key to navigating life with grace and resilience. At its core, self-control is the ability to regulate our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in the face of temptations, impulses, or stress. When it comes to anger, self-control helps us pause before reacting, giving us the space to choose a response that aligns with our values rather than being driven by raw emotion. The Buddha emphasized that by mastering our minds, we can prevent negative emotions like anger from controlling us. As the great Buddha once said, "It is a man's own mind, not his enemy or foe, that lures him to evil ways." This insight reminds us that our true challenges often lie within, and that self-control is the key to overcoming them. Strengthening self-control begins with self-awareness. By regularly reflecting on our thoughts and actions, we can identify patterns and triggers that lead to anger. This awareness is the first step toward change, as it allows us to catch ourselves before falling into old habits. For example, if we notice that certain situations or people tend to provoke us, we can mentally and emotionally prepare, deciding in advance how we want to respond. This proactive approach helps us maintain composure and avoid the regrets that often follow impulsive reactions. Self-control is closely tied to mindfulness, the practice of being fully present and aware of our experiences without judgment. Mindfulness helps us observe our emotions as they arise, without immediately acting on them. When we're mindful, we can acknowledge our anger without letting it dictate our behavior. This gives us the opportunity to choose a more constructive response, such as taking a deep breath, stepping away from the situation, or calmly communicating our feelings. Over time, mindfulness and self-control reinforce each other, creating a powerful cycle of awareness and intentionality. Another important aspect of self-control is patience. The Buddha often spoke of patience as a virtue that protects us from the harm of anger and other destructive emotions. Patience is the ability to endure difficult situations without losing our composure, to wait for the right moment to act, or to accept that some things are beyond our control. When we practice patience, we allow ourselves the time and space to process our emotions and respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. This not only helps in managing anger, but also contributes to overall mental and emotional well-being. Self-control also involves setting boundaries, both with ourselves and others. This means recognizing our limits and avoiding situations likely to trigger anger or other negative emotions. It also means being assertive in communicating our needs and expectations, ensuring that others do not push us beyond our comfort zones. By setting and respecting boundaries, we protect our emotional health and reduce the likelihood of situations escalating into anger. Discipline is another key component of self-control. Discipline is the practice of consistently making choices that align with our long-term goals and values, even when it's difficult. In managing anger, discipline might involve regular practices like meditation, journaling, or physical exercise, all of which help regulate emotions and build resilience. It might also involve avoiding known triggers, seeking support from friends or mentors, or practicing techniques like deep breathing or visualization to calm the mind. Through discipline, we strengthen our ability to choose how we respond to challenges rather than being driven by immediate emotional reactions. Self-control is closely linked to the concept of delayed gratification, the ability to resist the temptation of an immediate reward in favor of a larger, long-term benefit. Anger can sometimes lead us to resist the urge to lash out in the moment, knowing that doing so would only create more problems in the long run. Instead, we might choose to step back, cool down, and address the issue when we're feeling more balanced and clear-headed. This ability to delay gratification not only helps us manage anger, but also aids in achieving greater success and satisfaction in various areas of life. Building self-control is a gradual process that requires practice and persistence. It's important to be patient with ourselves as we develop this skill, recognizing that setbacks are a natural part of the journey. The Buddha's teachings remind us that every effort we make toward greater self-control is a step toward a more peaceful and fulfilling life. Over time, as we strengthen our self-control, we find that we are less reactive, more resilient, and better equipped to handle life's ups and downs with equanimity. Self-control contributes to a more balanced life by helping us maintain harmony in our relationships. When we can control our anger and other strong emotions, we become better communicators, resolve conflicts peacefully, and build stronger, more positive connections with others. This not only enhances our personal and professional relationships, but also contributes to our overall happiness and well-being. Self-control is the foundation of a balanced and fulfilling life. It empowers us to navigate challenges with wisdom and grace, maintain our inner peace amidst external chaos, and build a life that reflects our highest values and aspirations. The Buddha's teachings on self-control remind us that while the journey may be challenging, the rewards are profound. Greater peace, happiness, and harmony, both within ourselves and in our relationships with others. As we journeyed through these 8 Buddha lessons on controlling anger, it has become clear that managing this powerful emotion is not about ignoring or suppressing it, but about transforming it into something more positive. Anger, while natural, can become destructive if left unchecked. However, the Buddha's wisdom teaches us that we have the ability to take control of this emotion and guide it toward understanding, compassion, and peace. Each of the lessons we've explored, from self-reflection to cultivating mindfulness and gratitude, offers a different path toward mastering our emotions and finding balance in our lives. The first lesson, self-reflection, helps us look inward to understand the deeper causes of our anger. Rather than reacting impulsively, we take the time to examine what's really bothering us. Is it the situation at hand, or is there a deeper issue at play? Often, anger is a result of unmet expectations or past experiences that trigger negative emotions. By reflecting on our thoughts and feelings, we can recognize these patterns and address them, allowing us to respond calmly instead of lashing out in anger. Strengthening self-control is another essential part of managing anger. The Buddha taught that we should not let external events dictate our internal state. When we allow other people's words or actions to affect us, we give away our power. Instead, by practicing self-control and not reacting immediately, we regain control over our emotions. This doesn't mean ignoring what's happening around us, but choosing how we respond. Over time, this practice helps us cultivate a sense of calm, even in difficult situations. One of the key takeaways from the Buddha's teachings is that anger doesn't have to define us. It is a natural part of being human, but it's not who we are. Anger is an emotion, and like all emotions, it comes and goes. The challenge is learning how to deal with it in a healthy way. Through mindfulness, we can observe our anger without letting it take over. Mindfulness teaches us to pause, breathe, and become aware of our emotions without judgment. This simple practice can make a significant difference in how we experience and express anger. Compassion, gratitude, and forgiveness are also powerful tools for managing anger. When we feel angry, it's often because we perceive that we've been wronged in some way. However, by cultivating compassion, we learn to see things from other people's perspectives. We recognize that everyone faces their own challenges, and sometimes their hurtful actions are a reflection of their own pain, not a personal attack. Gratitude helps us focus on the positive aspects of life, making it easier to let go of anger. Forgiveness allows us to release the burden of resentment, freeing us from the cycle of anger and negativity. The path to mastering anger is a lifelong journey. It's not something that happens overnight, but with patience, persistence, and self-compassion, we can make progress. There will be times when we fall back into old habits or react impulsively, but that's okay. What matters is that we keep trying, keep practicing, and keep learning. Each step we take brings us closer to greater peace and understanding, not just of our anger, but of ourselves. As you integrate these teachings into your daily life, you will likely notice that your anger diminishes and your overall sense of well-being increases. You'll find that situations that used to make you furious no longer have the same power over you. Instead, you'll be able to navigate life's challenges with more grace, resilience, and a calmer mind. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the Buddha's timeless wisdom on controlling anger. I hope these lessons inspire you to approach life with an open heart and a peaceful mind. Remember, the journey toward mastering anger is ongoing, but each step brings you closer to a more balanced and fulfilling life. Don't forget to like, subscribe to Zen Teachings, and share this video with others who may benefit from these teachings. Until next time, may you find peace in every step of your journey.